We got Riley Davis here with us to discuss Trey McKenney, the number one rated player in our state, in the state of Michigan. We talk about Trey McKenney all the time. We cover basically every twist and turn in his recruitment. Last week, we had a video about his official visits that he lined up to Michigan State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Creighton, USC. Well, now he's added a visit to Michigan as well. That's good news for my Wolverines. I was pretty not confused, but maybe confused that Michigan wasn't on the initial list last week when he put this out. I know Michigan's been heavy on him from the jump back when Juwan Howard was the coach. Now with Dusty May still there, they're trying to get Trey McKenney. So I took it as a pretty big slight. Michigan wasn't there. Well, now they're getting a visit from Trey McKenney. You have not ever talked to Trey McKenney or talked to us about Trey McKenney on this program. I'm excited for a third-party opinion because everybody loves Trey McKenney in Michigan. It's been a Michigan State-Michigan battle, but also Trey McKenney was awful for the Team USA team he was on last month. Like, just looked really out of shape and slow. We compared him to Dion Waiters, and he shot the ball horrendously. It was really bad. It was kind of concerning. So I'll just set it up. I want to know your general thoughts here. Where are you at on Trey McKenney, the player?
So my first thoughts upon watching him was, the shot creation, his footwork, his ability to get to spots on the floor is what jumps out most about him. I thought he had a good frame. Looks like he can add some muscle. I think he's kind of the guard that's the archetype that we've talked about. This Michigan needs this year. They need a guard who can just get a bucket. And unless you think Roddy Gale meets that, I still like Gale as the player, but you need someone who has maybe more of an alpha score type mentality. And I think McKinney has the potential for that. But I kind of wanted to clear out and let you give your take. Like, I know this kid grew up a Michigan fan. He's obviously the hometown kid, but is he, when you look at who he is as a player, you've been calling really since probably April for Michigan to add one of these types of alpha scorer guards. Like, obviously if he matriculates in Ann Arbor, it won't happen until next year, but is he someone you envision sort of filling that role?
I'll be ecstatic if he lands with Michigan. I think he could be very good at Michigan. I think he could be very good anywhere. I do not consider myself a Trey McKenney guy. That's not saying I don't like his game or have admiration for his game. When he's good, he's one of the most fun players in the country. Just if I'm like gonna put my chips behind certain players in the 25 class, who do I believe will work out and who do I believe won't? I am not putting them behind Trey McKenney. That's no disrespect. It's pretty rare for me to like even draw that line when we do recruit videos. I try to keep it pretty positive in general. The USA event terrified me. Like, I felt like I was watching a completely different player. And I think you can learn things from guys in that setting. Like, McKenney has played with Darius Acuff a ton his entire life. Acuff looked like the best player at that event. But more importantly to me, everybody on the team treated Darius Acuff like he was the dog at this event. And Trey McKenney got a lot of minutes. Tommy Lloyd played him like he deserved a lot of minutes, but he couldn't hit a thing. I mean, he was so cold from three. He just looked so slow and just out of it, lethargic. And I don't think that's going to translate. I think it was just a bad week, but not a good time to have a bad week when you're suddenly thrown on one of the most talented teams in the country in a big moment for your prep career. So I don't know. I want him. Like, I'm definitely in this as a Michigan fan. I'm excited he's going to visit. I do think they have a good chance. As you mentioned, he grew up a Michigan fan. I have long held, I think he's going to end up at Michigan State. And I can't really pin why. Like, he just feels like a Michigan State guard to me, like the toughness. If you're buying McKenney stuff, you buy like he's this brooding, physical, nobody can deal with him guy. And that's Tom Izzo through and through to me. In-state guys typically do well at Michigan State. I don't exactly think Dusty May has a great pulse on the state of Michigan yet as a new face, even if McKenney grew up a fan. So I don't know. I would still handicap Michigan State as the favorite here, but it's good Michigan's getting a visit.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of his. Was it the FIBA? Which camp was it?
It was the FIBA Team USA, like
U20,
U17 team, I believe.
U17.
Or maybe,
Okay,
no, it must have been U18 because it's not this Koa Peak group, but it was like
right.
Acuff, Jeremiah Fears, Jasper Johnson, and Trey McKenney were the four guards. And Acuff and McKenney played like the entire game. Johnson and Fears came off the bench and were pissed they were coming off the bench. But if you watch these games, like Acuff was the alpha superstar. Fears and Johnson looked better than McKenney, but weren't getting the minutes. And McKenney was just like going 2 for 15 every single game.
See, this throws a lot of cold water on an analogy I was going to make because he does play with Darius Acuff. I was going to say, I've long been a proponent of recruiting the teammates of the superstar. Even if you go back to Kadari Richmond, he's my go-to example. His high school career, he played at Brewster Academy with Terrence Clark. Rest in peace to Terrence. But Terrence Clark was consensus top 10, top 5 kid. And you just had this bucket who was like the second fiddle who could do a little bit of everything, menace defender. Fast forward, 5 years later, and Kadari Richmond profiles as one of the 15 best players in the sport. So I'm always a fan of that tactic where it's like, okay, you're not in it for the superstar, but why not the superstar's like best friend? Why not get his running mate? And
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Greg, I was gonna compare you to Darius Acuff. You are the flash of Sleepers Media. You have the bombastic takes, but you're also a very talented podcast host.
Oh,
One
thank
of the
you.
best in the game. I would say the best in the game.
Thank you.
But what if you can't get Greg? That dark haired, dark eyebrow guy's pretty good too. He might not be top 5, but he's top 15. Wider frame, packs on a little bit of muscle. That's me. I'm Trey McKenney. But now I don't know if I want to be Trey McKenney because he's being described as slow and lethargic.
Well, it would have. I thought you were going down the list of comparing Carter to McKenney, and I was gonna be like, it's perfect. But look, McKenney is definitely stronger than Darius Acuff, and you are definitely stronger than me. I've seen your biceps, Riley. The last thing I'll say, I think I said this on a previous video, but just to try and maybe defend why I'm a little skeptical of McKenney. He's the number 15 player in the country. He's a consensus 5-star kid. He's been on all the big Team USA events. Everybody has seen Trey McKenney. Does a 5-star who's rated 15th in the country, does his offer sheet normally look like this? USC, Oregon, Notre Dame, Creighton, Georgetown, Rutgers, TCU, Michigan State. Like, where are the Blue Bloods? Where is your school? None of the most prestigious teams in college basketball seem to want this kid. Why?
Yeah, it does not look like a top 15 5-star kid offer sheet.
It scares me. And again, Tommy Lloyd played him like he's the best shooting guard in the country. He didn't look the part when he got that role. So I don't know. He's a good player. You want to keep in-state kids in state, obviously. I still think this could be a Michigan State battle long term, partially because a lot of those big schools aren't on him to come swoop in and steal him. But yeah, I would handicap this Michigan State still as the leader. And by the way, maybe a big moment for Sadie Washington, the former Michigan assistant, who is now on Tom Izzo's staff, because Sadie was heavily involved in Trey McKenney's recruitment the last 4 years at Michigan when Trey was rumored to be a Michigan fan growing up. If Sadie can close a deal, this would be a big first pin in his cap as a Michigan State assistant. So stay tuned on more Trey McKenney updates.